Welcome back to the Sports Influence. Today we've got Max Morris, a sharp, passionate journalism student studying at the University of Sheffield. He's also interviewed pro football players and is already dreaming big about TV presenting. Max has an incredible story, and he swam with Joel and I when we were kids. Through battling through injury and COVID, Max still manages to chase his dreams with unstoppable drive. So stick around. You'll hear about his dream presenting gig, some great sports stories, and a fast little quickfire round at the end. This is Max Morris on the Sports Influence podcast.
Right, okay. Max, when you think of sport, what comes to mind?
Passion, hard work, determination, winning, losing.
We had Phoenix Muir on the last podcast, plays basketball in America. He said the same thing, passion. And why did you say passion?
Well, I think from definitely the sport that I grew up involved in, if you didn't have the passion to be able to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to training because you wanted to, because you had the passion to go somewhere with it, I think if you remove passion from any sport at any kind of high level, what really you're doing it for? I think talent can only take you so far. You've got to have that passion within you to be able to, have the motivation and then the discipline to go on to reach whatever level you want to reach.
Yeah, do you think that was internal? Like, because we've talked about it before, where a lot of our passion when we were kids, a lot of it came from our parents to get you up at 5 o'clock, 4:30. And I know your dad was big and like he was a big part of that swimming community in City of Derby. Um, so do you think he played a big part in getting you up, getting into sections, or do you think, that was all your internal motivation?
Um, I don't know. I think it definitely has something to do with it. Because, you know, being surrounded by someone who has, like you say, who has gone through that, and he did reach national level in multiple sports. So he knew what it took to be able to get to that level, not just in swimming, not just in water polo, but in rugby and athletics as well. Yeah, and I think that was kind of, maybe I didn't realize it at the time, but it was kind of ingrained in me from quite early to kind of just be disciplined really, and being motivated and recognizing what is important, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because we spent so much time obviously in the pool together.
Mm.
If you could give me one memory that you remember, good or bad, from the swimming days, um, what would you say?
Oh, the first thing that I probably think about is just probably my first competition, first open meet, really getting the first feel of competitive sport at that level. Um, but I think that I look back very fondly at that, at kind of the early stages of swimming, because the innocence of it, and at that point it was doing it because it was fun, and I want to sit here and say, oh, I was always swimming because it was fun. All three of us know there was points where that sport was not fun at all, but you were still getting up and you were still getting in the pool, weren't you?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's something I realise is like when you're younger, maybe up until 14, 15 for me, I was going purely because I was like, this is just fun. Seeing my mates, having a chat, getting quicker along the way. But then, kind of as I got older, I was like, some of this is shit, basically.
Mm,
Like the longer sessions, just staring at the tiles as you're going through, like
yeah.
basically counting the tiles as you swim in. It's like it gets so boring sometimes, but then it's kind of like anything in life. Like it's never always going to be fun. You're never always going to be motivated or have, yeah, motivation or like enjoying it the whole time. It's all about hard work and being disciplined with it. That's how you get through, because if you're disciplined through the bad patches, eventually when it becomes more fun, you'll be a lot better.
You and I, Shay, we obviously study the ATA, and my manager always says, because it's pretty hard, you always need something to get you through something like the ATA or really hard. You need something that's going on in the background that only you have to make you get to the next stage. For me, for example, trying to push into nationals, that side of things. For you, Shay, probably winning nationals. no matter what it is, you need something so that when you're waking up at 4 or you're on the 30th 100 of 100 hundreds, you need something to think about and get you through it.
I think it's being smart with the goals that you set for yourself. I think quite often it's you see, oh, well, I know that I want to get to this point and I know I want to be able to final in this competition. But sometimes you need to be able to set mini goals along the way so that you can recognize, oh, actually, I'm still on track. Or even just small things like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm in the pool for what 10 hours this week, but then I want to make sure that I get 3-4 hours of land training in as well. Just setting those goals along the way, I think, can keep that motivation going.
Yeah, I think it's called the positive feedback loop.
Mm.
And it's like, so for example, I'm learning to speak Chinese at the minute. And it's like, there are times where I'm just not motivated at all. But say I have a mini goal, like I want to be able to have this conversation with someone. If
Mm.
I have a conversation with someone and I kind of get a point across that I want them to understand, or I understand what they're saying to me, then that positive reinforcement almost makes you way more motivated to go again. So I think you're right in that if you have these small goals that you can tick off, the feeling of ticking them off and that satisfaction gives you way more motivation in the long term.
Definitely.
You talk about motivation, but what made you? I don't know if do you still swim? I was going to say what made you stop? Because I know you went from obviously swimming every day, 2 times a day,
Mm.
right? You can't get many other more intense sports to then obviously things change at uni and stuff like that. But what has made you tone it down?
Okay, so when I originally toned it down, was just before my 18th birthday. So I was in the final year of my A levels. Um, and it was kind of just one of those things where as you get older and you transfer into adult life, rather than childhood, you have to prioritize certain things, right? And things that maybe once were a priority for you sadly do fall down the pecking order. So I remember at that time I was juggling just overall social life with my A levels, and like we'll speak about that a bit later on about what that was like. But trying to juggle A levels with social life with I'd kind of started the gym around that time as well, and I feel like a lot of people agree with me that at times the gym can be a lot more rewarding than what swimming was. So I kind of just said to myself, something needs to give here. I don't have the time to be able to commit to all of these things like I used to be able to. And to put it bluntly, I just wasn't the swimmer that I once was. Because I couldn't put the hours in that other people could at that age, at 17, 18. So when I stopped racing, I stopped training completely. Like I cancelled my membership with my club, and that was it. And then I probably didn't go back to swimming for another 18 months. It would have been the summer of 2023. I went back to my old coach at Belper Marlins. I went to Mike and I said, I think I actually want to get back into swimming purely for my fitness, and if I get to the point where I can race again in like masters competitions and things, then we'll do it. That didn't end up working out just because I didn't quite understand the fact that I was going back into like what the setup was there. It is still kind of that childlike setup, if that makes sense. So when I got in the pool, I was 2-3 years older than everyone else around me, and that it didn't really feel right for what I was looking for at that time. So I said, right, when I go to uni, I'll start swimming again, and that's what I did do. After I had my year out, I joined Uni of Sheffield Swimming Club. But that was probably another wake up call where I didn't realize. I thought uni level swimming was quite kind of vague, and you could kind of compete at whatever level you wanted to. But when the fastest guy in the club races your event, you kind of hit a wall almost. So that was, I swam recreationally. I did varsity. I didn't even swim in books. I just swam in varsity, and that was it. And then I decided that I wanted to put more of my time into my journalism career and progressing that rather than giving my hours back to the pool. But I still actually recently over the past few weeks I've started swimming once a week again, purely just for my fitness, and it is still my favorite form of cardio to do. And I don't, like what Shay said earlier about, staring down those tiles length after length. I don't really have that anymore because it's not, it's not such a longing experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose when you're not doing it as often, you kind of don't get bored as quickly. And I started swimming again, like just a little bit, maybe once every fortnight, because there's an outdoor pool near me. It's just so nice to do it again. Like my lats are on fire after like 2 lengths, but it's good. It's good fun. But yeah, I think uni sport is like there's such a range, and to be honest, I would have thought swimming was a bit more broad because when I was doing rowing at uni, when I first started, like books finals go all the way down to like an FG final.
Yeah,
Those.
there is still that, and some people might even listen to this and think, I wouldn't say that's true. And maybe it's not, but from my point of view and from what my club was like, we weren't necessarily a huge club to be able to put in, like in my year, we only entered one team, not two into books. And then it's actually this year just gone when they've entered two books teams. And that was probably when I could have then swam for Sheffield B. And they actually ended up winning. They ended up winning the B final. So, yeah, it does still have that, but I think you might you two might understand this, that when you were swimming at a certain level, I'm quite a proud man. So it does damage you a little bit to, all of a sudden I'm now swimming at this level when I always swam at that level. Everyone's different, aren't they? So
Yeah, and I've experienced that exact same thing because when I finished at Brooks last year with rowing, I had the realization like, oh, I'm never going to be in boats that fast again.
mm,
Like the reality is, I'm never going to be as fit as I was when I was doing that, and it
yeah.
kind of like you can still enjoy the sport you're doing, but to be honest, when I was doing rowing, I didn't really objectively enjoy rowing. It was just I did it a bit because I was decent at it and I wanted to win a few things before I stopped. That was it. But it's interesting you say about kind of having the mental space and the time to do things because I remember Mel always used to say, and we've touched on this in a different podcast, but you've got three things. You've got swimming, school, and social life, or swimming, work, and social life, and you can only do two of the three. And you have to make a choice which two you're going to do properly. Right.
mm.
And it seems like you obviously had that experience.
So at one point, I was on track to go to nationals. So if I sit here and tell you that my prime was when I was 14, that sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Like
That
that's
was when I was 12.
like
Don't worry.
in that is really how it goes. My prime was at 14. I was on track to go to nationals. With the way that the age groups fell, my age group was like, it was like I was like 13 at the time, and the category was 13 and 14. So next year, when I would have been in the upper, age of that category, I was all set to be able to go to nationals. I think the highest I ever ranked was, I want to say 38, something like that, for 100-meter freestyle. And then I snapped my ankle playing rugby at school in such an avoidable scenario. I managed to tear all the ligaments and tendons from the bottom of my shin all the way down to my toes. It was it. The nurses did tell me that it was actually worse than breaking my ankle because my ankle would have just repaired itself quite quickly. You put a cast on, boom, your body does the job. It was such a long process to be able to come back from that. And you got to think about the age that I was. I was 14 years old, right? So, I was 13 or 14. You're just about to reach that, especially from a male's point of view, that time in your life where you hit that peak of puberty. You go out, you go up. You really, especially when you're swimming as well. And I never really managed to claw back because during that time that I was out, I say rivals, you know, all these lads that you're swimming against every weekend, they've all gone, and all of a sudden we were looking at, you know, 57, 58s on 100 frees, and now we're looking at 54, 55, and anyone that swims knows how big of a difference that actually is. So I just never really managed to get into it, and then bought back into it really, and then that was why at 18 I just thought, you know what, the swimming is going to go from the three.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the point you made about the gym, bringing in the gym into it,
Mm.
because I often hear that a lot about the gym being more rewarding, because with swimming, it's all about behind the scenes, right? No one's appreciates the work that goes in. It's just swimming, you know. You might get a bit of the Mickey taken out you at school or whatever, but the gym, it's you can physically see the gains, and you can when you pick up a weight one day and you pick up a heavier weight the next day, you can see the gains there and then. Whereas swimming, it's such a long process. So it's much harder to see the gains, but the gains are probably more internal, like your heart, your lungs. Um, but yeah, so how did you find the gym and what? Because from when I last saw you, you know, we were all quite small swimmers. So what you're weighing in at now?
What am I waiting at now? Right now, I went on a bit of a cut before Albufeira. So right now, I'm I'm 6 foot bang on, and I'm weighing in at 90 kilos.
Okay, that's pretty.
Yeah, 6 foot
Yeah,
back.
that's pretty wedgy.
So yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. But when I was at my heaviest, I was 97. That was the heaviest I ever reached, and that was probably um I probably looked a bit heavier than what I was, and I don't necessarily, looking back now on those photos, I personally don't think that I look good. Like, you talk about the gym aesthetic, but I could push fucking weight. Do you know what I mean? I could, you know, that weight was moving, but if you ask me to move, I'm not moving very fast.
That can be the dangerous thing about the gym, right? Because it's basically if you go in for just the weights, you know, like classic male, uh, you're so fussed about what you look like, it almost can take over a bit. And if you take a week off, you're almost so worried about losing gains, it's almost not healthy. You know what I mean?
Do
Have you experienced that?
I I've kind of had different attitudes towards the gym, like, as the years gone on, because I first started the gym to actually try and recover my ankle quicker, and to be when couldn't get in the pool and physically kick my legs, I'd be on the bike in the gym, and that was originally why I started going to the gym, right? Then it became a point where one of the PTs at the gym said to me, he said, "Oh, like, you've got quite broad shoulders. Like, do you do a sport?" And I said, "Oh, funny enough, yeah, I'm a swimmer." This PT ended up doing a load of research for me, um, and gave me a gym plan, like, completely for free. I was probably about 14, completely for free, of what to strengthen and what exercises to do, what reps to do from a swimmer's perspective. So how to make my swimming better. And then when I got to after COVID, because I think COVID really screwed me, really, I think, with my swimming, that was the definitive reason as to why I knew I wasn't going to reach the peaks, that I wasn't going to catch up with these people anymore, because I had that COVID period as well. And then I probably got to about 16, 17, and I thought, you know what? I want to start lifting heavier, looking bigger, putting on the size, and you can see, being able to see the difference. And, like, I'll never forget that first feeling of benching 100 kilos. You know, that, you know, they say in it 2 plates either side, like, that's the first big one, right? And that doesn't, but I'll say I'll never forget that feeling, and it was a good feeling, don't get me wrong, but it does not compare to going to, like, the national finals at Cardiff. I don't. For me, they're incomparable, because the experiences that came with the swimming is it's a lot more fulfilling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that camaraderie we built up as a squad at City of Derby, you never really find that again because we spent so much time together. So, like you said, when you went to Open Marlin's master squad, you almost expected that same camaraderie, it sounds like, but obviously it was going to be so different. And it's almost like that's why you went to the sessions, to see your friends, to battle against each other and just have a good time, or as much as you can, because obviously you do a hard session, then you feel so good after it. You almost underestimate how you got used to how good that felt doing a hard session, and
Yeah.
then on to the next. But to give the viewers some background, what exactly are you doing now at Sheffield, and what made you do that? Like, what was the lead up to it?
Um, okay, so now if we're taken away from swimming and things like that, um, I've studied journalism at the University of Sheffield. Just finished my second year, where the courses, I actually checked before we started recording. It's currently fifth in the league rankings for journalism courses across the UK. I really would recommend my course, but they teach us everything. So I've done stuff from print journalism, radio, TV. We're going to be doing a little bit of documentary stuff next year, a little bit of magazine stuff. So it really has given me the outlook on the industry as a whole. But I know where I want to go with it, and I know that I I personally, at 21 years of age now, couldn't tell you that I want to do any other job in my life apart from work in sports journalism, specifically probably more football. Um, but that in a nutshell, that's what I do now. Yeah.
And in that football space, what sort of thing would you be doing? Do you think you'd more want to be on the screen or commentating or like newspapers, social media? Like, what do you think's the place you want to be?
Well, that's it, isn't it? Because there is so many avenues to go down. But from all the work I've done, what's really stuck out, I've always wanted to be a football presenter. I've wanted to do that since I was a kid. That is probably still the main dream, to be a football presenter. And the person, when you switch on your TV, your Gary Lineker, your Laura Woods, um, your Chappers, your Mark Pugac, those characters that, well, they're people that you switch on your TV and you recognize and you know what they're there for. That's really what I want to do. But anything in broadcast excites me. So I wouldn't, to me, I wouldn't put commentating too far away from presenting. I I don't massively have a huge interest in writing as much as I used to. So like what you might call newspapers, it's probably in our lifetime there'll be a time when newspapers stop being printed because people don't buy them anymore. You just read everything on your phone, but it's still kind of that article format, right? That's not really for me because I feel like I can showcase my personality a little bit more over things like this and broadcasting. But the social media work as well, I think, like the work that like Josh Denzel does with the England team. So he gets, imagine this, right? He basically gets paid a nice amount of money to sit there and chat and play games and stuff with the England football team. Like that's his job. I
Yeah.
I I don't really think it can get much better than that from my perspective anyway.
Yeah, it's class. It's class that you found what you want to do and what you're passionate about. Because I would say sports media that you study is quite a niche course. So it's so good that you've managed to narrow down that early on.
See,
Because I mean, I studied geography
mm,
because I didn't know what I was going to do after. Maybe that year you took out before helped you realize what you wanted to do, and that's
um,
also kind of why I did audit as well, because I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to go into. So I chose something where it has the most amount of avenues I could go to out of that. So it's so good that you've found that.
well, that
Because
was
again, even though you're doing sports media, there's so many avenues you could go down in that.
But that's the thing. That's exactly it. So my course actually is just journalism studies. I have a sports journalism module that I've done this year, but my actual degree is journalism studies, which so I have to do a lot of things that don't involve sport at all. At any opportunity where I can involve sport, and when we get a lot of freedom of things, and we do get a lot of freedom of things, I always will will try and push some kind of sports idea, build up my sports CV still at the end of the day. But for that exact reason that you just said, I didn't want to limit myself any more than I already have and come out with a degree in sports journalism. I'm not knocking anyone that does do that, because sometimes I've sat there in lectures when we're talking about the development of the world and third world countries and journalism in that regard, and I'm sat there thinking, if I'm honest with you, I just don't give a shit, like, at all. I'm just not bothered. It's just not where my interest is. It's not. But it's still important, and I learned that it's important to have the understanding of that side of things as well. Yeah.
And I guess going into football and that side of things, who have you met? Have you met any like big names within the journalism course or your career so far? Because obviously a big part of journalism is you're involved in the gossip, in the crunch of things a lot of the time. So have you had any chance to like get involved in any big projects?
Yeah, so I'd say my highlight was probably going to Derby County versus Sheffield United at Bramall Lane with a press pass. So
Class.
yeah, that was probably the best thing I've done. So I interviewed Chris Wilder and Paul Warne after, and obviously being from Derby and being a Derby fan, when the media manager comes in and he basically just lets you know that who's going to be coming in up the stairs, and we had Paul Warne first. And when the media manager came in and he was like, "Oh, just to let you know, guys, Paul Warne's coming up the stairs now," and it's a proper like pinch me moment, where you think like, "Whoa, I'm now in a position where I can quiz the manager of my home team." That was probably the big one. And I've had a nice interactions with.
What question did you ask?
It was David Ozo, the Palace loanee, who just started to really kick on. He'd got injured the previous game, so I asked him how he wanted to set up, how he was going to approach playing one of the best teams in the Championship without his best midfielder, hands down. And he basically turned around to me and he was very nice about it, but you could see he turned around and basically said, "Well, I had to use Osborne because I didn't have anyone else." And he's tried to gas him up and he's tried to say, "Oh, Osborne can come in and fill that role," but we all know he couldn't really. But yeah, that's what I asked Paul Warne. I didn't ask Wilder a question though, because Wilder very obviously had the people who he usually spoke to, and he didn't really want to speak to anyone else. But I have seen Wilder twice since then, and I have spoke to him since then. So yeah.
Is it a big gateway then, like journalism, when you're in these situations? Is it like once you get one question and then they like you, you can get next time you can get maybe two questions and then you get more opportunities? Is it very much like gate kept the profession, and that it's hard to break into, but once you start clawing away, then you can start to get more opportunities? Because at work, like a couple of months ago, I decided to go for a walk at lunchtime, and I was walking through the law. There's like these where the one of all the law buildings are, and I just see all these press right outside one of the law buildings. So I go over and I'm like, this is like 9:30 in the morning. I'm like, what you stood there for? And they said, we're just waiting for someone to come out. I said, who are you waiting for? They were like, Prince Harry. So I was like, Prince Harry's coming out of here. And then I was like, what time do you reckon he'll come out? He said, honestly, probably not till 4 p.m. I was like, you're here at 9:30, you're waiting until 4 p.m. So I went back to work, came back out at 12 o'clock, went for a walk, same people there again. I was like, any signs? Any signs? They were like, no, definitely probably around 4 or 5. So I come back at 4, wait there for half an hour and managed to see Prince Harry. But being around the journalists, because there wasn't any other really pedestrians around, makes you realise how tough the press side of it is. And to get those roles, to even get the opportunity to ask a question or whatever, it's quite gate kept, if you know what I mean. It's pretty hard to get into.
A lot of it is who you're representing, right? So if your name is attached to someone like Sky News, BBC News, GBN, ITV News, Channel 4, you know, your mainstream, if your name is attached to that, you're employed by them, or you've previously been employed by them and you're a freelancer, whatever, that holds a lot of weight, and a lot of the time that's what can get you into those sorts of situations. So with me, I've always represented student media. Now, we're quite lucky that Sheffield United are very open to helping our department out. It sounds like over the years they've had quite a good relationship between Sheffield United and the Uni of Sheffield Journalism department, which is how I got into those sorts of situations. But not everywhere's like that. Like I really wanted to cover Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United at Pride Park at Derby this year. Sent an email out to a press officer who, I don't know if listeners might know, but Dom Dietrich is someone who I've been in contact with before, who is BBC Sport Derby correspondent, and he has a lot to do with Derby County and sports scene and things like that. I got the contact off him. And basically my response was, we have it exclusive only to the University of Derby journalism students, so only they can go in. And then at first I wasn't really happy about it, to be honest. I thought, oh, that's not fair. But when you think about it, well, that's probably what we have. We probably have that kind of exclusivity with Sheffield United that other student medias don't have. So it really is swings and roundabouts, and it's about who you know.
What have you got to do to be attached to one of those big names? Have you got to climb through the ranks, or is it a lucky break?
That ask me again in 10 years. I think there's a lot of things really. Yes, ideally for me in a couple of years, I would love to be employed by someone like Sky Sports, TNT, DAZN, someone like that, where you can go and then build your career through that employer as they give you opportunities, and you build your network and go through it that way. That is probably the easier way to do it. You think a lot of these broadcasters don't just have contracts to one company as well. You'll see a lot of pro players will often speak on BBC and ITV and Sky Sports, and not necessarily, you know, TNT and DAZN are seen as a bit differently, but Sky Sports is the main one, right? Because they've typically always had the most Premier League coverage. So that's probably the easier way to do it, but it doesn't always work like that. It is really an industry of who you know. And I have contacts at Crystal Palace. I have contacts at Derby County that are definitely useful for me, but it's not like they could just give me a job. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and I suppose it's kind of similar to other things in that there are different avenues, like you say about Josh Denzel. Obviously, he was on like Love Island or whatever, but I'm assuming the main reason he's on there is because he's got a massive social media following and he's shown this interest in sport. So I suppose through social media and being consistent, trying to grow a good following on social media, that might be a different way into getting into those spaces.
Growing your audience is the hardest thing, but it is actually the most important, because once you've engaged an audience, and a loyal audience, and people that actually care about your opinion on certain things, or maybe you can speak to the right people and you might have information that might not be in the public domain, but then if you got the permission to be able to then publish the information you have. But when you talk about Love Island, like, Love Island's a cheat code, mate. Really is, like, because obviously it's on at the minute. Someone said to me the other day, "Oh, like, would you go on it?" In a heartbeat, I will go on that show, because Josh Denzel is the best example that I can show you. He was already working for Sport Bible before, so I knew who he was before. Then he just grew his audience even more, expanded his audience even more, and then now you end up seeing him on TV and different kinds of content all the time. Do I think Love Island's got something to do with that? 100%, because it's a cheat code to being able to expand your audience and expand your following. If you've got a big following and people care about what you have to say, you're in. basically.
It's funny Love Island stuff because it's all affiliate marketing. Like I went to I went to a restaurant. There's a restaurant in Essex called The Sheesh. It's called The Sheesh. It's in Chigwell. And 2 or 3 times I've been there, and every time the whole Love Island crew are there, all of them. And it's funny because as soon as you come out of that villa, no matter how long you've been in there, if you say something, for example, Alex the doctor guy, him just being a doctor or something different, you as soon as you step out, you're going to get brand deals, you're going to get all this stuff going on, charity work, whatever, and it does change your brand completely. But then again, you need to be 100% that you want to go into like the affiliate marketing way because you are doing potentially some stuff on there that's you would tarnish your reputation in some other
Mm.
professions. If you agree.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not really not necessarily my area of expertise, but I can understand that. I can see what you mean about public figures advertising for brands that might not necessarily give them the most respect, or nobody wants to see a public figure that they look up to or idolize or follow. Nobody wants to see them advertise something that is like it can be seen as a well-known scam. You know what I mean? So
There is quite a few of those scams, but then again, you also get some real good out of it. Like that Alex the doctor guy, to bring it back to him, like he's fair play to the guy. He's used the opportunity. He didn't. He was complete. I thought he was completely different character to most of the other guys on that show,
I
and
think
he
that's why
used
he
it, and he's done
belongs.
something. He's done something different with it. You know, he's big figure in the NHS now, doing
Mm.
all the mental health stuff. So fair play to the guy, and I completely see where you're going from, where you're coming from. But another question for you:
Yeah.
who's your biggest role model within journalism or sport?
In journalism, it's probably Dan Walker. Um, Purely because so Dan Walker's from Sheffield. He probably lives about a 20-minute drive from where I am now. He did history at Hallam and then did the MAE broadcast journalism course here. So his face is plastered around campus quite a bit. But the reason that Dan Walker's such a big inspiration is because he is the first person that I remember working in football media, in front of the camera, working in broadcast, working in presenting, and he'd never been a professional. He's never reached a high level of playing football. He's worked in journalism his whole life. And I think being able to reach the top of that game and then not only reach the top of the game in sports presenting, he made Final Focus what it is, right? What it is now. He made that. He made he made I'm not quite sure how long he did it for, but he was on BBC Breakfast for quite a while. I'm sure he presented the One Show a couple of times. He's done work. He does work at Classic FM, the radio. He does work at Channel 5 now. His expertise seems to be never ending, and um, he just seems to have his finger in so many different pies, and I can really kind of respect that, if that makes sense. Being able to reach such a high level in all those fields of journalism is so commendable. In sport,
It can be just Dan Walker. It can just be Dan Walker, but of course, within sport, us growing up, I remember you especially. We used to all be obviously Adam Peaty was in our club. We saw him on a regular basis.
yeah,
He was a big role model for me. Him and Luke Greenbank in the swimming world, like growing up with we were so lucky to have Mel Marshall because we just got some exposure to some massive swimmers.
yeah.
Um,
Liam Tancock as
and
well.
yeah. So, what would you say those coaches and how they changed you having those professional like the best coaches in the world,
Yeah.
Hancock and Mel Marshall?
I think in terms of what Mel Marshall gave us and gave me at such a young age was the understanding of what it takes to reach the high level in swimming. Yes, you could say in sport in general, but with swimming, she knew her stuff, right? Evidently. She probably wouldn't mind me saying that she's probably more known for her coaching than her being the athlete herself. But why should that be seen as a dampener on what she did? I think, yeah, really ingraining that winner's mentality, that competitiveness from a young age, the drive to win, the discipline, the understanding of what you needed to do, and that it wasn't going to be an easy path. All of the above. That was really what I probably didn't realize the effect that she had until maybe a little bit later on.
The thing about Mel, I think, is she was so kind of influential to so many people is because she was always so positive,
Mm.
right? She was always like trying to hype you up, kind of giving you back slaps, like talking to you about your day. It made you feel important. Like, and I think that's a really important trait in a sports coach in general is when a sports coach actually takes the time to get to know every athlete, regardless of whether they're the best in the squad or whether they're a bit slower, it makes everyone feel important and it makes everyone feel more motivated to like work hard, maybe a little bit for them, but also it kind of makes the environment so much better.
It goes back to what Max said at the start, you know, passion and motivation. A lot of that internal motivation does come from your coach keeping you motivated and that side of things. But I guess to wrap up, we always ask this question to all of our guests on the pod. What would you say your hardest session you've ever done or ever known is?
It's not. I don't even think it's really close, and I'm sorry if it has been said before, but yeah, 100s on swim camp when I was, I think, about 12 years old at Forteventura with Mel Marshall. Um, I I can't really think of much else that really kind of hits the nail of when you get that feeling after completing a set, and it was like, oh, you're shattered, you feel good, you're drinking your water, and you're kind of taking it in, and you're like, oh, I know how much good I've done there. But to say that you swam 10,000 meters, right? I've done the maths right there, surely.
Yeah,
That's right,
10K.
mate. That's right. Well done.
Yeah. Well, I'm a journalist, not a mathematician. Let's get that right. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think anything comes close to that, because I remember at the time it being such a big thing. I remember, I think I can't remember. It was years ago now. I can't remember what day it was, but I remember reading like 100s. It even just sounds horrible. Right, it sounds like pain. Um, and at the age I was at as well. But yeah, that's probably my hardest session I've ever done, Joel.
Yeah, do you remember when they used to, it's hard when they ask you to bring a snack for, to keep you fueled up throughout.
Yeah,
Bring a
I think
Belvita,
often.
bring a Belvita or something like that to keep you going. I
Yeah,
mean, we've spoke about this session before on some of the last podcasts, but at some point, Shay, we're gonna have to get that one done because there's no avoiding it.
We
We've
have
got
to.
Corin's one, we've
Yeah.
got Max's one, and then we've got Phoenix's one as well, which is a bit niche, but we're gonna give it our best shot. Um,
It's
but
such
yeah,
a
I hand over
classic
to you,
session.
Shay.
It's such a classic session as well. Like that was the session when you went on swim camp and you saw that on the program. You were it was the one it felt like every session was leading into that one session you did.
yeah.
And it was like it was the one everyone all week was waiting for that hundreds.
Mm.
But then when you finished it, you were like on top of the world. I
And I
remember
was,
feeling I sat in the changing room in this grungy little changing room in Forteventura or in Malta or
mm,
wherever. I think I did it a few times, but sat in that changing room, horrible little changing room, but I felt like a king because I was like, I've
yeah,
just done this massively hard thing, but it just
especially
feels so good.
because, especially because at that time as well, I might have even been the youngest swimmer on camp. or if it wasn't me, I was definitely in the youngest three to go, and to still kind of have that, you're still getting the attention from someone like Mel Marshall in that, at that point, this was I think 2016, 2015, Forte Ventura was, something like that. No, it must have been before 2016 because of Rio. So yeah, that was pretty crazy, that was. Yeah.
So, in your eyes, who is the best athlete of all time?
I have to give you one answer.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
So
But
you're a Ronaldo man like me.
I'm not. No, I'm not. If you ask
Oh.
me who was the greatest footballer, I'd say Leo Messi. If you ask me who the greatest athlete is, Cristiano Ronaldo.
What? So you're not a Ronaldo man?
Yeah, you've just tried to cover all bases for yourself there.
Yeah, pretty
Pick
much.
one and go with it.
Yeah, but genuinely, if you ask me who the best athlete is, I think the longevity that Ronaldo's played for at that level, you can say what you want about the level of Saudi League, you can say what you want, but at the end of the day, he's still banging goals in. He's what? How old is he now? Like 39, something like that. Like, he's been doing it. He's been on the stage for years. Scored the most goals ever. I don't want to hear anything about Pele. Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo is the best athlete of all time.
Yeah. See, I'd actually disagree. I would say Phelpsy.
Phelps was my other one. Phelps was my other
I'd have
one.
to say Phelpsy because
For the domination, yeah.
the domination, and then he had that low point with all that controversy, and then he came
Yeah.
back and won even more. It's like he's got a proper story to his career, which is so good.
I do agree. I do agree. And I very nearly did say Phelps. If I could show you my notes were CR7, Michael Jordan, Katie Ledecky for similar reasons to Phelps, and Novak Djokovic. They've all got a lot of things in common, haven't they, about that domination of their era.
Yeah. What about you, Joel? What do you think?
I'd have to say Phelpsy, but then again, I understand. I've played a bit of golf myself, and I understand how hard it is. And just like Phelps, a man that's had his downfall, and then he's brought it back to come and win. Tiger Woods, like also not the brand deal, the brand they built around them. CR7 done it again. Tiger Woods and Nike. It's just like Michael Jordan. These people have changed the world, not just the sport. And yeah, so definitely, I'd say Tiger Woods for me. Although Michael Phelps again, but you've already said him, so I'm going to bring something different.
Fairs. Right. One more. What's your kind of dream gig to have in journalism? Say you could commentate or report or present one show or one event. What would it be?
Present the World Cup final.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy answer, isn't it?
I don't think honourable mentions are Champions League final, but the Euros as well. But I think the World Cup final is in my opinion, the biggest sporting event in the world. So I think, there'll be so many different shows of it internationally in so many different languages. But to be just involved in one of the English-speaking ones for the World Cup final, whether England will win it or not, it would not matter to me. I think, for me personally, that presenting and working in that broadcast world, it does not get any higher than that at all.
That's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then just before we finish, if you've got any like social media handles or anything like that.
I'm reasonably active on Twitter. I'm not on X. I'm not as active as I should be, but that's Max.Morris with 2 S's on the end. I'm not gonna plug my TikTok just yet. I've got plans for that. But if you want to check out, I haven't spoken much about it, but if you want to check out like sports media and things like that, if you look at forge.sport on Instagram, that's a lot of what we do here.
Just kind of your kind of next steps, future steps for where you kind of want to try taking your career.
Well, in terms of where I want to go, I'd really like to get onto some kind of grad scheme next year at somewhere like Sky Sports, TNT, DAZN, BBC Sports, something like that. And kind of, like I said earlier, work my way through the ranks of one like broadcaster. But honestly, just to work in football in any capacity in the media side is the dream, really. But if you see me presenting rugby or something, then don't worry about that. That's fine.
Yeah, we won't pull this podcast back up, but hopefully, Max, hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast soon in the future when things have changed. And hopefully, you'll be on, we'll have future World Cup final presenter.
And that's a wrap. The way Max presents himself is great, and it's clear that he's going places. If you like the episode, make sure to like, hit the subscribe button, and share this with anyone that you think might need a little bit of motivation today. We've got plenty more inspiring guests coming up, so make sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you next week on the Sports Influence podcast.